Hello, hello. All right. Multi-dimensional love of Christ or Christ love, however you want to call it. There is plenty people with M-type brains, people that are multiple potentialities, and multi-track processors. The people with M type brains probably will have conditions like autism, HDHD, bipolar disorder, anything that has to do with neurological conditions. And the reason why is because they constantly are processing thoughts, ideas, creation, and are in one-on-one contact with the spiritual realm more than a person that is unidimensional. Um, this is mostly all about soul's alignment and assignment. The assignment of each soul is to help humanity stop living in chains by not being rebellious, but remembering who the soul they carry truly is and what is the purpose of their soul. Um, the architectural structure of a person that processes, learns, and creates can be compared to people that are good mostly in anything that has to do with learning it themselves. So they will take up on learning a specific instrument or a specific task or a specific sport, and they will become very good at it, even without anybody else thinking that they could actually reach that potential. That's why they become very competitive. Unfortunately, competitiveness goes hand by hand with ego in most aspects of life. We have been indoctrinated on how to be the best at everything, how to not be just someone else, but try to be the best in what you do so you can actually rank a position. People with M type brains could literally outdo anyone that is studied on a subject in less time that took that person to actually learn the subject. And I kind of have an inner laugh about it because in order to understand my neurological system, my brain, and why I think differently than others, I had to understand my brain type and the natural way that my mind thinks, natural way that I learn, and the natural way that things become simpler to do, even though in the sensorial, which is the emotional part, may be a little bit more difficult to handle. A lot of people that have this personality thinks that they are difficult people. And I'm here to let you know that you are not difficult. What is difficult is for humanity to understand that you don't need to put that much effort to do what they do with so much effort. And that is something that people envy. Therefore, they're going to try to make you look smaller so they can look bigger because they think that they have reached a higher level just based on their natural talent. While here, you become a multi dimensional person with different purposes, because the same way you can express sympathy and compassion is the same way that you can create music, or you can create a poem, or you can paint, or you can do a specific sport and be the best at it. Not because, and this is where it comes difficult. A lot of people think it is a competition with another, but it's not. It is literally the way that we fulfill our curiosity about creating things. But something very beautiful about it is that we have a different way to help people understand things that they will not be able to process on their own, based on the fact that there's structure in their thoughts. And that's why often, even when we're not looking to be hated, we become hated by another that cannot think outside the box for themselves. And I learned to live with that type of resistance in my journey. Since a very young age, I can auto analyze a person with feeling the vibration of their energy, and with the first few words that they say. I can feel in what part of their body they have stagnant energy. I can discern the solution of their problem, even if I am not a professional. I guess that I've had a chance to experience different type of where probably in one life I was a herbalist, and in another life I probably was involved in something about religion, and maybe in another life I was just this is all have this knowledge within ourselves. Some of us are born with that knowledge being activated already. Some of us go through a lot of trials in order to learn how to manage the sensorial or emotional part of it. And at the end of the road, the reason why people think that you supposedly don't care is just because you understand the depths of human nature. And instead of finding or you can pinpoint the parts within that because you already went through that, or because you recognize it in yourself. When someone that is not ready to heal listens to the way that we speak without a filter, they become practically offended, because if they are one dimensional and stuck in their ways, they're gonna think that you believe that you're, I don't know, more knowledgeable than them, or just trying to manipulate them, or just trying to impose your rules. And this is not about rules, this is about knowledge. This is about divine understanding of who we are and the capabilities that we have. This is not about being higher or bigger than anybody else. Speak about a spiritual ego, understand it, but the part of the spiritual ego, it's no more than curiosity at its best, trying to ask others questions that to see if they're the only ones that know this information or not as a prying state, but curious state, because it is beautiful to see that there's more people understanding how awake or asleep they are in this existence and what we call life. In the 1920s, there was a lot of information circulating about this, but there were too many structures and too many cultural concepts that made it all taboo. Yet those who studied the laws and the vibrational laws of the universe started understanding and awakening a portion of the part of humanity that needed to be awakened, so the curses of generations will stop little by little. I've been announcing for years that we're gonna start entering the Christ age, or the age of the Christ era. The reason why we're entering that stage is the abuse of power and restrictions and control. It's getting higher and higher, and people are noticing. The lies are not able to be held that easily. The powers are fighting. There is a new order that wants to gain control and power from the old power archetype, and they're right now just having a blast fighting one another. The reason why this is happening is because they know humanity's consciousness is coming alive again. That's why the purple dragon came up in the other day as part of the channeling that I was doing, because when the purple dragon starts speaking, it's not going to be only me. It's going to be a lot of people channeling the same energy. I've seen it in different channels. I corroborated after I did the channeling, and I felt the multi-dimensional love of Christ, of unconditional love, hit different after you regain this knowledge. Why am I speaking about this? The love that Christ came to show humanity was an equal love where genders were not considered patriarchies or matriarchal energies, but the way that the patriarch era should seize and literally absorb the matriarchal side of humanity, so the balance of the earth can actually start aligning, so we avoid destroying what we have built, like it happened in Atlantis. Unfortunately, as one side grows, the other one does as well. So I've noticed I love using Copilot for searching information or Google like we did before, right? ChatGPT and all of these things. And as things develop, I believe that stronger rules should be placed out there, as there is people teaching others how to steal literally information from other pages and create a better video and gain more money, and that should be penalized. People should not be able to just upload an URL from another page and redo it and make it better. The reason why AI is here is to simplify our lives and literally take over the part of creativity and thinking and processing of the human brain. And we all fall for the tendencies, right? And this tendency is what's gonna actually bring into play the prophecy of Albert Einstein when he said how it's gonna become a world of idiots. And I'm not insulting people, I'm just saying no one can be in charge of how you develop your brain if you don't make that happen for your family. And as I explained before, when they add fluoride to the water to calcify your third eye, then they remove the arts, and now the arts have become distortion art in order to appeal more to the lower vibrational frequencies instead of the high vibration frequencies. And humanity is just taking it as something normal. Sorry for that, guys. So, what's important is to understand, if you do not take accountability of two things: learning it so you don't stay behind, but also not allowing that your children stop developing their creativity and their mind, then you're just gonna set them for correlational failure. Why? A person that cannot think outside the box and depends on a machine to do it all for them is the same that happened with mathematics. The world is based in numbers. Architecture is based in numbers. Many things is based in numbers. Oh, they invented the calculator and everybody forgot how to add, subtract, and multiply, or do extensive algebra, or even more than that, just because there's a calculator that does it now for them and they don't care to learn it. And unfortunately, everything is related to the Fibonacci spiral, which is numbers. And people that see numbers, sequences, and number mirroring numbers and stuff like that as evil, they just have not understood that everything they live in is based on numbers. So, yeah, that's how indoctrination makes people dogmatized and lose intelligence and start living ignorantly. And that's what Albert Einstein predicted, which will come pretty soon if the parents do not see the difference between one and the other. Regardless of that, same goes for medications. Some medications are there to help people, but some others are there to make them more adjustable and supposed to be normal. Therefore, just consult and speak to your kids before you end up making them addicted to any any substance. Because if you help your kids from when they're young develop better responses to their own gifts, and it's 444 as we speak right now. Synchronicities in numbers are amazing. I know Abba wants this message out because the change is coming soon, and those who are not ready to understand the coherence between numbers and what's happening in the world and what's happening inside of you and what's happening collectively will have to repeat a cycle that is not going to be a beautiful cycle. I cannot explain more because I'm not allowed to do that at this time, but we can speak about it in the future. So, a multi-dimensional purpose in real life looks like the work we do, the people we serve, the creations we bring into the world. In the emotional dimension, how we heal ourselves, embodying that healing, how we cultivate compassion and stop having pity, and the patterns that I break or we break. Our mental dimension, how we teach our ideas, how the wisdom is articulated, and the clarity that is brought through the wisdom that is shared. And the spiritual dimension, the alignment we carry and the frequency we hold. This is very important. Nobody's pure light. Everybody has darkness and light. In Spanish, in my country, they say juntilla. Juntilla means the people you gather with, those you have around you. Often, when you follow your dreams and you get to a higher level of income and a higher level of having contacts, etc., and you come from places where there is people that still lives with scarcity or lack mentality, and they are still living in their shadows, people carry a cross that they shouldn't carry. What I say is not that you stop being friends with anyone. What I'm saying is it's not our responsibility to gift them the right to be in places and spaces that their frequency will not match. How can I explain this without sounding judgmental or lack of compassion? If you want to do something good for another person and you put $1,000 in their hand and you tell them multiply this and you expect nothing in return, if that person has a track of being irresponsible, they're probably not gonna be able to multiply those talents. And it's just like in the Bible. If you give a person that truly wants to change their life an opportunity, you will mostly ask them, what are you working with right now? What do you have that you can work with? And how do you are planning to make it multiply, right? At that moment, you know their plan. When you know their plan, then you become their support in a certain level, but you don't do the job for them. You're there to support their work. What happens when there is a plan, there is a support, but the product they're creating is not a product that will lift up humanity? You're connecting yourself with a purpose that is filled with darkness. Now, The important thing here is not judging one side of another. The reason why I'm speaking about this is because we're gonna start a course that's gonna be free for artists and people that want to learn how to create from their emotions, but also understand how to step out of the cycle of living in that emotional state. And that is something very important because every single artist uses their emotions to create. But if you become a martyr of your emotions and your creations and you stay in that rut, no one can take you out of the pit. Sorry, it's my mom's birthday and she's receiving 20,000 calls. So you're going to hear her in the background speaking about her birthday. Thank God she's 84 and I still have her with me. So blessed be thy name. With that pause, then yeah, we not only as creators, artists, writers, etc., have to understand what we're creating to understand how it could actually uplift a society or not. You as an artist can start painting from a very dark space and then started your way into healing, but there's other artists that stay in the wounded place because for them creation is related to sadness. And that's what I want to teach artists. I want to teach artists how to balance it out and allow their own creativity and their own emotional painting, writing, songs, whatever it is that they create to become also their healing. You heal with art, you heal with things that mean something to you. A lot of people is bounded to jobs that they dislike and they're just bounded to them because they have been told that that's the only way that they can survive. But I believe that a job should be something you're passionate and you love to do, so it doesn't seem to be a job or a performance, but something that makes you joyful and happy. So there is several ways to create, and there are several ways to understand muses, and that's why with my attention to this multidimensional purpose in my life, I can correlate that into your spirituality and into what the world knows as religion. So I am gonna speak a little bit about constellations because in a constellation there is an interconnection. The same way goes with consciousness, right? Every constellation has a role. Every person in your life has a role. There is no coincidences in life. The people that you actually end up interacting with are part of your experience. And even if at a point you wish you never have met him or you wish you never have crossed paths with this person or people, love always wins. And I put myself as an example. Even when I was taken advantage of by a group of people, even when they decided that I was the enemy and they became the snakes and they boasted about making money from the things that I was speaking and blah, 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 and all of the things that happened. At the moment, I was like, why is humanity like that? I got a little disappointed, but then I realized Abba was teaching me a lesson too. The multidimensional love of Christ. These are people that carry wounds that they themselves don't understand, like the ones that I carried that I didn't understand. So at the end of the row, if I ended up hating them, I will be hating myself. And that's what people don't understand. Envy, jealousy, all of those are lower vibrational spirits. And yes, it got into a point where the energy mingling was too intense because of not only the attacks that were silent, but also there were people playing with dark magic. And I am a person that I do not do magic, but I know magic. And I know how to protect myself from it. And when somebody crosses that spiritual boundary that no one should cross, I know how to transmute the energy, but I never return to sender, because if I do that, I become like the haters. At times when I approach people, people may think I'm envious of them or I want something from them, just because I see a bigger picture or how everyone is interconnected, and someone that has the means and has gotten somewhere can help others that struggle into getting acknowledged, not because they should invest in them, but because they are a model, a model for others to follow. But apparently, the way that I exposed that idea was taken as if I wanted them to, I guess, support my project, when my project is mine. It's me and God, it's me and my purpose, and nobody needs to be part of it. I can do it all by myself. And not because I want to be selfish, but it's nobody's purpose to share the purpose with someone else unless a couple has the same purpose in life and they want to expand it. That's something different. So we are people that have layer consciousness, acknowledgement, knowledge that we transform into wisdom, not to feel higher than anybody else, to have the right words for others to hear so they can solve their own situation. That's why I always said I can help people, but I'm not going to enable them, because for a long time in my life, I became an enabler and I made it my supposed sacrifice based on indoctrination that I had to do X and Y. And Jesus teaches something different. Jesus say to always see your brother as you see yourself. And when I understood that and that part of my ego died, I decided to make a last connection with these entities that came against me, and just share part of the love and compassion that I've learned. Not because I want them to take my word for it, but because if God has a purpose and they can benefit from that purpose, I don't care how much they stole from me, because they didn't steal from me. They harmed themselves. The same when we do things that we don't want to do, but we have, I would say, wounds or ideas or perceptions of things are not the correct ones. I don't expect anyone to forgive me personally, but I wish they can forgive the act as I do. I forgive the act And I also forget, not because I want to forget the experience, because what I've learned and what I've gained from the wisdom of Christ, it's bigger than holding on to a bad memory. I use it as an example, not because I'm scorned from what happened. In a way, I am even grateful for what happened, and that might sound dumb or stupid if you want to call it like that, but in my wise, compassionate way, if I never went through that, I wouldn't find the other piece of the puzzle that I was looking for within myself. And I wouldn't be where I am today. So, regardless of how people take your approach, regardless of them all, the beautiful thing that we learn is how to respect free will, and that you can say whatever you want to say, and it's not on you how people take what you say. If they take it in a personal matter, then that's their problem, not ours. If they take it as an insult, that is, they are showing you who they are. If they want to steal from you, then you understand that they have a wound where they felt that other people were superior than them. And one day they have to realize that they're the same. No one has a hierarchy. Maybe people will have more money, and money supposedly gives power, but it doesn't buy happiness. Happiness and joy comes from your heart and from having compassion not only for you, but for humanity. And if you still work and dabble in low vibration activities, and you indulge in spirits, and you indulge in lust and things like that, then you're mingling with the devil. And the devil is not other than the way the matrix keeps you chained to putting the body and the ego above the soul and the heart. This is a very easy and quick comparison. I'm not going to make this too long. I think that my words were precise, concise, and right to the point. We'll talk about where the moon is going and how is that going to affect you for the next part. And what I'm going to do is today I'm going to close a cycle. I will not speak about the past. I want people to learn how to handle their spirituality based on how they perceive the world. And I will not use other people as examples, but I will use my own experiences. Why am I doing this? Very simple and easy. I can speak what I felt. I can speak about what I saw through the perception of my wounding if I want to continue in the same cycle. But I see things differently now. And the purple dragon, Jesus, Mother Mary, and all the ascended masters that have been channeled taught me to look at the heart, work with the heart, and release all of that that has no space in your life anymore. And that is very important that you work on it before the full moon reaches. Now, please take a look at 1 Peter 4. The mainful grace of God is in there. Ephesians 3. There's more length, depth, and height of the breath of God or Christ in a multidimensional scope of Christ's love, just focus on that one. Mostly verse 18 has very good information. And remember something, when you read the Psalms are moments where David also felt like any other human that is in despair. What do I do now? Get me out of here. Do this to my enemies and blah, 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 blah. And I say blah, 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 not as a disrespectful thing, just not to go over and over again the theme. But what you have to understand is Christ came to change it all. Christ came to show you how to nourish your mind to be steadfast, sovereign, and rooted in your heart. If you choose to live in your mind, that is a choice. It's a choice you make every time you allow your thoughts to hunt you. It's a choice you make of not allowing yourself to feel the grace of no sacrifices needed because he died for us. And if that's the concept that you live by, then if you act totally opposite to that, then you're not believing what you're preaching. And it's very difficult for humanity to understand the balance within the mind, the heart, and the soul. A lot of people think that they are entitled to things without being fully honest and present. And I've learned something very beautiful. If you cannot make time to show up, then you're not invested. It doesn't matter how many forms of artificial intelligence or communications there are. If you are classic and old school in certain ways, then you have to understand how that have and will not trust many of this. I learned that there's a lot of fishermen out there of loneliness, that they think that because you're speaking about what happened to you, you're a lonely person that wants someone to love them desperately. And they tried to create spaces where they could get me in an emotional state where they can actually ask me and others for money. And there are people falling for that because they have good hearts. So no one can ask you to trust you if they don't trust themselves to show up. So in my life, well, show up and take action, not those that speak about what they want without meaning it. Regardless of who is who in life, nobody that cares about their true soul path will care about what the world says. And I've learned many things in all of this. I met people that are scammers that ended up at the end saying they were sorry and they want to change their lives. And I just again, because they're making easy and quick money. And you can not legit. So, when somebody wants to change, they don't speak about it, they take actions. And with my condition, it's difficult for me to show actions more than anybody else. But I stopped boxing myself into the expectations of what people think should be the right time or the right moment to do things. Not because I don't believe in myself, but because I love myself enough to give myself the time to heal and to plan and to make sure that what I share with others comes from a space of love and not from a space of duality as it was before. And I think that's why Abba wanted me to share the story as I went through it, because only He can give you the peace in your heart to forgive your enemies and still want them to one day understand what we understand, not for ego, not for pity, but because they deserve love. And if they don't learn how to love themselves, then they're always gonna feel like an outsider. And I was there too once. So that's why sometimes I stayed in places longer than what I should. That's why even if people think that I am bending over backwards supposedly to get their attention, I will still share the beautiful things that I find. I don't know how to get mad with people forever, but I did learn who could be around me, who cannot. Not because I want to be judgmental or look anyone from below my shoulder, but because the many times that they have had chances of just having the decency of treating us with respect and continue to use this respect to communicate. And I come to the understanding that that's why many people learn to forgive the act and not the person. But at the end of the row, if Jesus is able to forgive everyone and die for everyone, even if I don't open the doors of my energy or my space to those people, I will still wish them the best in life, because it is a choice. You want to remain in that place and remain harming others, or you truly want to understand yourself so you stop feeling that you're rejected when you're not. So it's a beautiful story, and that's why I'm going to put an end to the past, because what happened in the past shaped me to be where I am today. And because what happened in the past showed me who is who in the equation, as well that what I had to work with. So when I speak to others, it doesn't sound commanding, so they don't think I'm trying to manipulate their lives. So yeah, I learned that persistence is okay, but not when the persistence is kind of trying to force someone to stop learning what they have to learn, but look your way. And I hope that the person that try to do that and try to control my life understands that that's not love. That is fear telling you that you should do that. And I was there too. And the moment that I guess, was doing that same kind of energy, I was attracting that energy to my life. So that's why I don't feel any hard feelings about it. Not because I am perfect or nobody's perfect, but because the interactions, when you see it from outside and you leave the ego behind and you see who did what at what time and how all worked out, it doesn't only shows you where you were wrong, but the character of all the people that was involved. And even though my intuition told me who was who, differentiating what exactly came from who only comes from understanding your heart. So I hope you all understand your heart so you can see through the veil of illusions and you can see through the veil of the masks that people wear when they know that probably you have the best intentions, but in their world, it was better if you were the problem so they couldn't face theirs. It's a two-sided way. It's a two-way street. If you do not learn how to clear that, then the cycle repeats. And no matter where you try to find that supposed person, you're never going to find the same energy. Energy is the highest exchange for us. That's why knowing how to discern energies doesn't become defensive, but wise. Not because you don't want to be around people, but because you know how to cleanse and transform that energy so it doesn't affect you by understanding projections, emotions, your pain, and all the dogmatized ignorance that you're holding in your shoulders as something you have to do to fit. After you see all that, you'll just become authentic. And it's not that you're going to become careless. It's that you're going to become free to be yourself and not allow anyone to make not even half of a decision for you. So I hope we all get there. I hope we keep on opening our hearts. And I just wish that God blesses your hearts, your minds, your souls, so you can blossom and be the best version of yourself that you never thought you can become. Stay blessed. Bye.